morning. This morning I'm going to show you how to create some shapes that have compound miters, and also how to figure out what those compound miter angles are and how to set up your table saw to cut those angles. We're going to start by creating this four-sided box. The inside lower edge of this box is 4 inches on each side. I'll show you that with the top view. This dimension from here to here is 4 inches, here to here is 4 inches, and it's a square. This one's the same, except this is 4 inches and this is 8. But I'll show you how to make it from this. And then we'll do a hex box, which is slightly more complex compound miters. And finally, I'll show you how to determine what the angles are to set up your table saw. So let's get started. I'm going to open up a new version or a fresh version of SketchUp, and we'll go from there. Okay, here we are with a fresh version of SketchUp. I haven't even saved it yet. What I'm going to do is start with a new tool that come out in SketchUp 2015. If you're not using SketchUp 2015, you'll have to do this slightly different than I'm going to demonstrate here. But if you have 2015, you have a new tool called the rotated rectangle. And that's going to be the star of this show right here. I'm going to start with the rotated rectangle tool. I'm going to start at the origin, come out along the red axis, and I'm going to enter 4 enter for 4 inches. And now notice if I drag my cursor up, I get a rectangle that's leaning, and the amount of lean I can see in the VCB. If I look down in the VCB, that's this box right here. As I tilt this thing, it tells me the angle, that's the first number, and the number of inches of height of this box. I can change that, the height, and I can change the angle. I'm going to type in, I want this thing to lean 15 degrees from vertical. So I'm going to type in 75, comma. Now, I want this box, when it's finished, to be 4 inches high, but I don't know exactly what that dimension is going to be in terms of how long the sides are, how wide the sides are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type 75 degrees, comma, 5 inches. Give myself a little bit of room because I want it to be 4 inches high when I'm finally done. So I'll just type 75, comma, 5. Okay. Now I've got a rectangle that's leaning 15 degrees from vertical. I'm going to give it some thickness, a ½ inch. So I type 0.5 enter. And if you're one of my students and learn SketchUp, you'll know that I have 6 rules for drawing in SketchUp. As soon as something takes 3D shape, we make it a component. So I'll make this a component, call it side. And right away I'm going to take care of the bounding box. Right now it's got the wrong size bounding box. So I'll right click and say change axes. I'll pick this point right here, make this the red axis, and make this the green axis. Now I have a correct size bounding box. All right, now I can't use this side just as it is because notice that this wouldn't touch the ground. This point here wouldn't touch the ground. And my box would be not level on top. I want it to be level like this. So I have to correct for that. The easy way to do it is to create a couple of construction lines. One that's coincident with this edge, one that's parallel with the green axis and goes through this point right here. And what I want is I want for this surface to come all the way down to this point right there. So I'll go into Edit Component Mode, double click on the face so I get the face and all its perimeter. And now I'm going to move that face and its perimeters to this point right there. Click outside the bounding box. And now I have, if I look at this from a side view, I have indeed flat top and flat bottom. This touching the ground, this is flat on top. Okay. With that, I'm going to get rid of my guides. With that, I want to copy this side. So I'm going to use the Rotate Copy tool. Here's the Rotate tool, and I can make it a copy tool by using the Control key. So I'll click. I want the blue cursor, and I can hold the Shift key to keep it. And click on this point right here. Come out along the red axis. And now I'm going to rotate copy it. I have to hit the Control key to make this a copy, a rotate copy. I hit the Control key, and now I can rotate this 90 degrees. And since I want three sides, three additional sides, I'll immediately type 3x. And what that does is makes this rotate copy 3 times. And so now I've got 3 additional sides. I'm going to look at it from the top view. And use the Move tool to put these in place. I want that point touching this point. This point touching this point. And this point touching this point, and that should make these 2 points come together. And I should zoom in real close and inspect it, make sure it does. And it appears to. Now I'll just zoom extents here. All right. That's not quite what I want, but I'm getting there. Let's go into Edit Component Mode on one of the sides. What I want to do is extend the side on each end so it overlaps with the adjacent side. Now once it does that, it gives me a hint as to what geometry I need to add. I need to add my miter cut here and here. Don't be fooled by this line. That was created by this end when it's rotated in these other parts. I still have to add it right there. Similarly, I got to come down here and add this edge. And don't be fooled by this. That's not really there. I have to add it. Now I have to go to the bottom and do the same thing. And lastly, I go inside and do the same thing. Now, it's a simple matter of getting rid of what I don't want. So I'm going to use a right to left motion with the Select tool and just select these end parts here and delete. I'll do the same thing here. Click outside the bounding box. And look what we have. Right away, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer called sides. I'm going to call this one the front side. This one the back side. This one the left side. This one the right side. Whoops. Let me just check that again. Front side, back side, right side, left side. I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to put them on the sides layer. And if I did that correctly, I should be able to make the sides come and go by checking the visible box. Okay, now we need a bottom on this thing. And we'll just take the rectangle tool from corner to corner. And I want the bottom to hang over about a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to use the offset tool, the offset tool, and bring this out a 1/2 inch. Now I can get rid of my original face and perimeter with the delete key, and I will make this a 1/2 inch thick. 0.5 enter. All right, now I'm going to use my new tool again. This is a very helpful tool, and you'll find that numerous ways to use this tool. But I want to give myself a surface to draw on. So I'll click here, come down to the middle again, the midpoint again, and now come out. And this time I'm going to come out along the green axis 90 degrees. So I'll type 90, comma, and 0.5, bring it out 1/2 inch. So I've got this nice little rectangle that I can draw on. Now I can use the arc tool, the 2-point arc tool. Click here, here, on the face of that rectangle, and I'll type 1/8 to give me a nice 1/8 inch bulge. Now I'll get rid of my handy rectangle. Since I haven't yet made this a component, I can choose its surface as the path for this little piece. When I use the follow me tool, I'll either choose a path, or I'll choose a face whose perimeter is the path, which is what I'm going to do in this case. So I'll use the follow me tool, click on it, and there we go. All right, now click on this, make it a component, call it bottom. I'm going to create another layer, call this layer bottom. I'll call it plural, bottoms. We're going to have more than one. And since I only have one of these bottoms in the model so far, I'll give it a part name of bottom. And I'll put it on the bottoms layer. Okay. Let's just check that. It's on the bottoms layer. It has a part name bottom and a component name bottom. And the rest of these are as we thought before. Sides, left, right, front and back. All right, there's our first model. And we did it with the help of this new tool called the rotated rectangle tool. Now what we want is we want the same thing again, only we want it to be twice as long, or 4 inches longer. And I'll show you how to do that. We'll begin by making a copy of this entire thing. And we'll move it 24 inches down the road. I'm going to get rid of this back. I'm going to replace it with a longer one. I'm going to make this one unique. And notice when I did, it called it side number 1. These are still called side. I'm going to change this name to short side. Of course, when I do that, this one is called short side as well. This one I'm going to call long side. Now I want this one to be 4 inches longer, so I'll go into Edit Component mode. And I'll use the Select tool, like this. Actually, I want to use it like this. And I'll move this down 4 inches. Click outside the bounding box. Now, while I'm at it, I'm going to make this longer. So I'll go into Edit Component mode. And let's see if I can do this. Not quite. So let me do it this way. There we go. Now I've just chosen this end. I'm going to move that out 4 inches. Whoa, forgot to do something. I got to make that bottom unique as well. Let's make that unique. And let's call this long bottom. Now I can go into Edit Component mode. Select just the end. Move it out 4 inches. Click outside the bounding box. And now it's just a matter of moving things into place. All right, this one, I need to copy this over here. So now let's rotate it. 180 degrees and put it back into place. But I have to call it the back side. As the part name. And so that's the back side. It's the back long side. That's the left short side. That's the right short side. That's the front long side. And this is the long bottom. All right. So we've accomplished 2 of the things we wanted. Let's do one more. And we'll find that no matter how many sides I have on this box, it's actually the same process and the same number of steps. The number of steps don't get larger because the number of sides do, and I'll show you what I mean. First I want to make sure I'm on the red axis. I'm going to put a construction line here, coincident with the red axis. So I'm going to use my rotated rectangle tool again, come out here, go 4 inches, come up, and again I'm going to make this 75, comma 5. And we'll give it thickness. ½ inch. And like before, we'll create a couple of construction lines parallel to the green axis here and coincident with this edge. Now we can choose, double click there and move this whole face down. There we go. Now one of the things I didn't do in these previous 2 examples is I didn't make these heights the height I wanted. Recall that I wanted the height of this side from the ground to be 4 inches. I made this length 5 inches. I'll show you that. That's 5 inches. But what I really want is I want for the height, that height, to be 4 inches. Right now it's 4 and 53/64. I want it to be 4. So the way I'm going to do that is we're going to create a construction point from, well, what I'm going to do is bring this construction line up on the blue axis 4 inches. Now I'm going to select. Shows you the importance of the select tool. I'm going to select just this top edge using the select tool in a left to right. And now I'm going to bring this point, oh, I lost that. Now I'm going to bring this point down to that point. Now if I look at this, it's 4 inches. And it's best to do this right at this point, make this height right at this point, because if you do it afterward, like I have to do with these, it's a little more complex. It's best to do it at this point. Okay, now let's make this a component, and I'm going to call this hex side because it's going to be a 6-sided figure. And again, I'll take care of the axis, correcting the axis right off the bat. There we go. Let's make a copy, a rotated copy of this. I'm going to hold the shift key down to keep my blue axis. And I'll come out here, hit the control key to get the little plus symbol on the cursor. Come out, this time I want to come out not 90 degrees, but 60. It's a 6-sided figure, therefore each side has to be rotated 60 degrees. And I'm going to do that 5x times. Now I'm going to look at everything from the top view. Now I got a bit of a mess on my hand, but that's okay. Simply a matter of connecting the sides again. Same way we did before. And inspecting this to make sure it came together, and it appears as though it did. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. Let me get rid of my guides. And I'll go into edit component mode. Bring this out. Bring the other end out. Create my missing lines. You can keep track of which one you're working on because it's the one that's bounded by the bounding box. And I'll go in to the top, add the last two. Now it's a matter of getting rid of what I don't want. That's not going to work for me, so I have to rearrange things here a little bit. There we go. Click outside the bounding box. Now we want a bottom. Can't use the rectangle tool. So what we can do is use the polygon tool. But first we need to know where the center is here. So let's do this. That's the center right there. And again, I want the blue, so I hover over this until I get the blue, and I hold the shift key down, click at the center, come out to one of the intersections here. Now I can use the offset tool, bring this out 1/2 inch, get rid of my original face, bring the new face down 1/2 inch, and again I can choose any side here. I'll use my rotated rectangle tool, find the midpoint, click there, find the midpoint down here, click, come out 90 degrees, 1/2 inch, comma, 0.5. And again use my arc tool, 2-point arc tool, to make a 1/8 inch bulge. That wasn't too cool. We'll do it this way. I'm going to select this face as my path for the Follow Me tool. And now I'm going to create a bottom component. I'll call it hex bottom. I'm going to delete my guides. Okay. I'm not going to do the cleanup with putting everything on layers and things like that. You can certainly do that. But what I want to do is show you how to figure out your compound angles. To do that, I'm going to copy this one. Bring it down here along the red axis. And if I look at this from the correct end, I can rotate that. First of all, I want to make sure I have the red cursor. So I hold the shift key down and I'll pick that point right there and up along this edge and move it down to the red axis. All I did was I rotated it so it's flat on the ground. Now if I look at it from the top, what I want to do is I want to align this edge such that it is parallel to the green axis. So I hold the shift key down to keep the blue cursor this time. I come out this way and I come over until it says on green. Let's use the I don't know what I use the rotate tool on. Nothing, I guess. So let's do it on this. Click. Up to that point and wait until I'm on the green axis. And notice what I did was I rotated this such that this edge is aligned parallel to the green axis. The green axis, or this line right here, parallel to the green axis, think of as the table saw blade. Now what I want to know is, what is this angle? Because that's going to be my table saw fence. So again, I'll use the protractor tool. Click here, come out along the red, click here. Notice that says 8.5 degrees. So that's how I'm going to set the fence up on the table saw, 8.5 degrees. How am I going to tilt the blade? Well, we can look at this from the front, and that'll tell us the blade tilt. However, we can't measure that directly because this face is fading away. This face is not parallel to the red-blue plane. But what I can do is use this rotated rectangle tool again and click here and here. Now notice I've got a plane that I can manipulate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center line, center point of this edge here, and just click on it. And notice the plane that I've created. That plane creates an edge here, which is on the red-blue, is on a plane parallel to the red-blue plane. So now I can make that measurement. So I'll look at the front. By the way, let me go back. Let me step back. Let's do that again with this tool, with the rotated rectangle tool. Find this corner. Notice the VCB. Notice it says, or even the tool tip here. Notice the angle is 61.1 degrees. That's actually the angle right there. So if I click there, And then I go to the front view, measure that angle, whoops, got the wrong tool. Notice that's 61.1 degrees, the same angle that was measured with this tool, the rotated rectangle tool. So that's the angle that we're going to set the tilt of the saw blade to. So notice our compound angles, a little strange, 8 point something degrees and 61.1 degrees. Not exactly what you would expect, given that the sides are 60 degrees, one from the other, and the tilt is 15 degrees. But that's the nature of compound angles. Okay, so I hope we've shown you a little something here that'll make your life in the shop a little easier. And I'll let you go back and change the height of these so that they look like the height of this. Okay, that's it. It's a wrap for today. Have a good day.